right? Others can actually see and say, oh, this person is here. At the end of the day, you are what you see. So thank you so much for those pieces of advice. So now let's go to the new job. So,
all right.
Can you walk us through?
Before we go to that, one thing I would like to say is that actually we met through networking, right? So, the fact that we've got to know one another and had a number of conversations in different places, it started out where we got to know one another networking. So it's really, really powerful, and you can choose who you want to continue your conversations with. Okay, sorry, but go ahead.
That's okay. So basically, for the new job, can you walk us through the actual step-by-step process of negotiating in a new job?
Yeah, so I'll tell you the steps that I've always followed and that have been successful for me, and I will share a story of somebody that I recently coached just to give it a bit more life. So again, the usual, know what the salaries are for this job, do your research, and then decide on your salary range, especially the minimum. And when you go for your interview, always express strong interest in the role. And I'm telling you, do this even if you're not sure you want it. I've had so many people that I've interviewed that I've had a bit of a kind of a, yeah, what have you done for me lately kind of an attitude. Never, ever do that. Look and act and be really interested in what the job has to offer. Because what you want to do before you start talking about money is you want to be the person they want to have in their organization. That changes things dramatically. Think about the BATNA. If you are the best option they have and they don't have anybody who comes close to you, that puts you in a power to negotiate a better salary. So start with how you behave in the interview. Start with what you know. Start with the questions you've prepared. Start with how you dress when you go to the interview. All of those things may seem obvious. They're not, though. If I tell you how many people have come in to interview with me for a job and have been ill-prepared, have acted like they didn't care about the job, have not really had the kind of personality I wanted, they can ask for any money they want, they won't get it. But the person you really want, and you always know who that is, or you usually know who that is, they can ask for anything. So start with getting the job, and that can be 1 interview, 2 interviews, 3. My advice would be, don't talk about money. Now, some companies will ask you to put in your written application how much you want to earn. If you do have to put that in, and again, you have choice, I would go high. I would go at the top of my range. But if you get into an interview and can avoid talking about money, I would recommend avoid talking about money. This is the one time, I think, in your interview process where you can act a bit dumb. And if they say to you, what's your salary expectation, then this is my sentence that I've always said. I've always said, do you know, I haven't really thought about the money. I would love to come and work for your company. Maybe you could just give me an indication, because I honestly really don't know what these kinds of jobs pay. That's the one time I think you're allowed to tell a bit of a lie, a bit of a fib, just to put the ball into their court. And by the way, I've done that in every single job interview I've ever been to, other than ones that have forced me, but the jobs that I've got, that's how I approached it. And then wait for the offer. And they may offer you more than you expect, may offer you less. If they offer you more than your upper range, more than you ever expected, most people just go, oh, fantastic, sign the contract. No, when they offer you what they offer you, then you go back and negotiate further. Even if you just fell off your chair because they offered you so much more money than you expected. Then you go back in, you develop some good arguments about why you need slightly more. And because in a negotiation, it's really important for both parties to reach the peak of the negotiation, to feel like, okay, we've got a good deal. We paid a salary. We couldn't have got away with paying less. We didn't offer too much. And you feel like I pushed it to the maximum for myself. So always negotiate further. The first offer is never the final offer. And again, you can always negotiate other things than salary. So one thing you can negotiate with a new company is welcome bonus, if you work for financial services, you often have a bonus that you lose if you leave mid-year. You can ask your new company whether they'd be willing to take over that bonus. What a lot of companies do is they say, if your current employer refuses to pay you the bonus because you've left, we'll match it. All of that is possible. I've had that in my last 3 contracts. So that's possible. You can negotiate all the non-monetary things we talked about before. So if you have other offers, you can also use those, but only if you do. You can say, for instance, if you're in a company that you really want to work for and they've gone too low, so you followed all the steps, they've gone too low, then it's a good time to say to them, I really want to work here. I love this job. This is the job I want to take. I have another offer and it's paying this. Would you be willing to match it? But don't do that in the beginning. So I'll just walk through just a very small example of one of my clients who I recently helped. So my client was returning to apply for a position in a company she previously worked for, which is a bit of an unusual situation. So her benchmark was what she earned when she left 4 years ago. And she called me up and she said, well, I'm not going in for any less than I used to earn. So I said, well, why would you even be considering going in for the same, if not, a lot more? And she was quite surprised. She goes, well, I doubt that they'll pay more. And I said, well, I doubt that we know that at this point. So she followed the steps. She went to the interview. They asked her what she expected to earn. She said, I don't know, I've been out for 4 years. Maybe you could make me an offer. The usual kind of slightly dumb, but, you decide what you think the job's worth. So I'll give you some numbers. So she was not going to take less than 65,000 euros a year, right? And but she said she hoped to get 70. So she didn't ask that. They asked her what she wanted to make. She didn't say. And they came back with an offer of 85.
Amazing.
So imagine what would have happened if she'd said, well, I'm not taking a cent under 65. There's no way they would have offered her 85. They would have maybe offered her 70, right? Which would be stupid of them to do that if the job pays that. But there are companies that will take you at your word and give you exactly what you ask for. So then she said to me, well, I'm definitely going to take that because there's no way they're going any higher. And that's, brilliant. And thank you for your help. And I said, wait just 1 minute. Now you're going to go back to them and you're going to say to them, actually, and the other thing, just as a little bit of, because it's all a game, right? The other advice I would give you is when the people call you and give you the salary, don't act too excited about it. Whatever the number, even if the number's double what you thought, just go, oh, okay, yeah, thank you. Yeah, I'm going to have to think about it for a minute. And you may think this is, theatrical and dramatic and you shouldn't be doing this, but believe me, all the people that negotiate high salaries do these kinds of things. So you don't want to act too enthusiastic. Then the next thing you want to do, well, this is at the very end, you want to make sure you get it all in writing, but I'll talk about that in a moment. So then this woman went back and she said, well, I'm kind of disappointed. I was hoping for a little bit more. And they said, well, how much more? And they went, well, just more than you've offered me. Is there any way we could go a bit higher? They came back and they offered her 92. And then she negotiated a bonus on top of that.
Amazing.
So she's now getting 92 salary plus I think about 15 bonus. And she was expecting she was going to take 65. So I'm just going to tell you, that's not an unusual story. That's the most recent person I've helped. I have this all the time. And, companies are willing to pay you less than the man sitting next to you because they want to save money. So if you want to negotiate your position and get that money in, and imagine now, she's now making 30,000+ more money than she thought she could. After tax, she can invest about 1,200, if German tax, I'm talking German tax, so she could invest at least 1,000 of that in her future. So that's going to be, you're the expert on this, that will be worth in 10 years versus not having that investment and versus not having that salary increase. So that's why we have to do it.
That is really, really amazing. And you're a super coach. Also, on behalf of women, thank you for helping her to think just, okay, you don't have to be within this box of the salary that you had in mind. And you're very right. Most of the time, when we talk about what we're looking for, so we're anchoring that, and that is what the company will latch on. So like you mentioned, I really like the way, like, to kind of play dumb and say, oh, I really don't know, what does it go for? So that you kind of see, okay, does it meet my anchor in my head? Or is it actually higher than what is going to be, basically? And I think that's a very good example, and I'm sure most of our listeners would love this, and hopefully contact you to get more insights and more coaching to get like 30,000 plus more, and even some bonus in there. That's really amazing.
So I love coaching people, right? And that's you really don't need a coach for this if you follow the steps. What I did with this woman was I did role playing with her. And we practiced it over and over, and I was really tough with her, really tough. And when she went into her negotiation, it was completely easy because she'd practiced it. So grab a friend, practice, and be bold and be brave, and don't be afraid. They're paying others far more. I've had jobs where if I hadn't negotiated exactly like this, even though they were offering me more than I thought, if I hadn't negotiated, I would have found out 3 months after starting that people working for me were making more money than me. That's how, because I thought the money was so high, but there were like men working for me that were making more.
Yeah.
But because I'd negotiated, I was above them. But if I accepted the first offer, my company would have literally been paying me less than people that work for me. Companies do things like that all the time.
And I think it comes with confidence as well. So, and a lot of it, and a lot of confidence also comes with cultural backgrounds as well. So I think sometimes, even we might not be, like you mentioned, it's good to like practice it out with your friend and whatnot. But then again, some people are not that, they might not feel comfortable letting their friend know about it as well. So I think there's a balance, right? Depending on like who we are, and just be confident, right, to ask, and also to, like you said, talk about it with someone else, practice it out. And if you still feel we need that help, then you are the person that we need to come to help with our negotiating skills and get more money. But yeah, thanks for that aspect where we need to actually try to practice it out as well and get involved, and just make sure we do not settle for less, basically, and not think, like you said, again, it's all about the mindset, right? So if you have this mindset of, oh, nobody's going to pay me more than this amount, then we're stuck in that. And if we don't have that extra help to push us up and say, oh, you can actually earn more than this, then it's more of being stuck in that mindset. And I think a lot of confidence, a lot of being open as well comes into it, and also just getting out of the comfort zone as well to have that conversation. And like you mentioned, very intelligent conversation as well, because it goes into that, like the art of the kind of question you need to ask to make sure the other person at the end of it feels like they're also getting something, right? So it's more like they feel like it's a win-win situation as opposed to a win-lose situation in that aspect. Thanks for the insight into the story. That's just amazing.
Just one very quick story I would like to share, just very briefly, is I had a couple of people come in to apply for jobs when I was working at Bank of New York for me. And every now and then they would sort of say what their salary expectation was, even though they hadn't been asked. Or one of my colleagues would ask them and they would say, if I recognized that they were going really low, I would wait till everybody had left and walk them out to the lift to say goodbye to them. And I would say to them, I'm not putting your salary in my notes. That's way too low. You deserve a lot more. And I don't want you coming in like that, because you're going to be annoyed when you find out others are making more. So please, if HR asks you what you want to earn, please let them make you an offer. And please don't tell them that number you just gave me. Just because I think woman to woman, I wanted them to come in. And not just women, by the way, but honestly, the women are the ones that go low. So in these two cases, it was women. I also knew that from a company point of view, we wouldn't be doing ourselves any favors in terms of hiring a new person by underpaying them. It wouldn't make any sense. So that happened a couple of times, that I actually asked people not to disclose the number they just mentioned to me because it was too low. But I don't count on employers to do that. I just did that.
No. You're a different person. I'm sure most people don't do that, but that's really amazing. It just shows that the kind of person you are, and also just to help others as well to get their worth. And this it's empowering them. Actually, we are empowering them to make sure. Okay, do not say this. Just wait for the anchor, and then you then negotiate. It's empowering them in that instance. So thanks for your service.